known online as Gaze, and for the past 6 years I've been creating my game called Spirit Axis. Now before we get into the game, I'd like to tell you a little bit more about myself and why I think this project is worth caring about if you like action-adventure games like Dragon's Dogma and Dark Souls. I started developing games in Unity back in 2012, when I was around 12 years old. This hobby turned into a profession at 18 years old, after I finished my game developer degree at the Grafisch Lyceum Utrecht, where I finished a 4-year study in 3. After finishing my internship, I was hired at Sticky Studios in the Netherlands. There I worked on games like Geostorm, Rampage VR, Tomb Raider VR and others. It was during that time that I began on my personal project, Spirit Axis. After the company shifted direction, I quit, and I thought it was a good idea to work in construction instead, which I did for the past 3 years. Why? Well, I thought that if I spent a day doing physical work, I would have more mental energy in the evenings to work on my game. And that did work for a while, before the physical tiredness caught up with me and I realized I really didn't want to be doing this. So I said, fuck it, I quit, and began working on Spirit Axis full time. And that's where we're at now. I work on Spirit Axis at least 6 days a week, and after about 2 months of this I made my first vertical slice deadline, which is what you're seeing in the background. This vertical slice won't be released to the public, it's very minimal, but the point was simply to type any loose ends, to make sure the game loop was fully closed, and that everything present is stable enough to serve as a workable foundation for the future. And that's quite literally all I've been doing for the past 6 years now, laying the foundation. See, it's easy to rush ahead, to be so hungry for results that you neglect stability in favor of excitement. But that's backwards, it's shooting yourself in the foot. We Dutch people cannot build a house and then place it wherever we like. We live in a swamp, everything is always sinking, it's flat. Without a solid foundation whose roots go deep, our houses will sink too. And that is the approach I took with this game. With patience and diligence, I've spent those years building the foundation, developing every single system from the ground up, and now I'm nearly ready to start building the house on top of it. Now, as you may have noticed, this is the 3rd devlog in the series, but I wouldn't advise you to go back, because the last one was, let's see, 5 years ago. It's probably more shocking to me than it is to you. Anyways, those last 2 videos showed little more than prototypes. Almost everything you see has since been replaced by something more robust, and over those 5 years I've spent pretty much every single day working on some aspect of the game, or at least something related to it. At the core of all that work lies Octology. When I first wanted to create an action-adventure game, I realized it would need a world for it to take place in. So I thought it would be cool to write a fantasy book in whose world I could then place the game. But to create a world for that book, I had to take a step back to create a mythology to give rise to that world. Then I had to take another step back, because in order to create a mythology, I first needed a cosmology, and through it a philosophy. Those final steps back are what led me to develop Octology. Not just as an elemental in-game system, but as an elemental view of existence itself. And before I go any deeper, understand that it's just that, a view, a lens through which to view reality. For like the Tao Te Ching says, the Tao that can be told is not the eternal Tao. I am not calling Octology the truth, just observation. So, Octology posits that cosmological systems which seek to explain reality through symmetrical divisions, such as yin and yang, the 4 elements or the zodiac, are all dividing the same thing in different abstract ways, that thing being existence itself, the all. Where Octology differs is that instead of dividing the all into 2, 4 or 12, it divides into 8. 8 elements arranged along 4 symmetrical axes, within which the principles of these other cosmologies can also be found, because ultimately we are all trying to describe the same thing. This isn't just pulled out of the air either. It's based on Plutchnik's Wheel of Emotion and on a study that explored voluntary motivations in individuals, whose results described 8 motivations along 4 axes. By layering these 2 sources with the 4 classical elements of air, water, earth and fire, I was able to interpolate 4 additional elements between them: spirit, nature, void and light. Once I had those 3 layers in place, I was able to interpret many more layers of meaning between them, which eventually built the octable. The octable is the culmination of all that symmetric division of the all, and that is the gist of Octology. It's a language I arrived at individually, but apparently has been spoken for over 5,000 years. But I don't want to go any deeper into Octology in this video. What's important to know is that Octology is the very mortar of the house I call Spirit Axis. It is the essence that runs through every single system in the game, from its lowest systems up to its highest mechanics. Every agent, meaning players, enemies and NPCs, possess the 8 elements in many different forms, among which are point stats like health, endurance, energy and stamina. These points are derived from 8 bodily attributes, which are what the player can actually level up. But to explain that further, we first need to get into the term anti-souls, which is probably why most of you click this video. While I would now label my game as a Souls-like, when I first started Spirit Axis I had never even really played a Souls game before. Like most people, I think the difficulty simply scared me off. I tried Dark Souls 3 once, but couldn't even be bothered to get past the first boss. No, what initially inspired me to create Spirit Axis was Dragon's Dogma. That came at such an immaculate vibe that it kept pulling me back in wanting for more. The magical, weighty combat, the photographic textures, the rolling grassy hills by the shore, and the cherry on top, the Bitter Black Isle DLC. But despite that, I would not call Spirit Axis a Dogma-like, for besides the control scheme, it doesn't really possess the staple features that Dragon's Dogma is known for. Then I finally decided to play Dark Souls 1, and found that it had just as much to love as Dragon's Dogma. Most importantly, and just as before, the vibes. Of course, I then also played Elden Ring when that came out, and I even went back to finish Demon's Souls and Dark Souls 3. And by then I understood the appeal of the Souls-like. It's that rewarding feeling of finally overcoming a difficult challenge. But that was never what drew me in. What always drew me in most was the adventure of being in a strange, forgotten land surrounded by surreal antics, entities and mysteries. So yes, both Dragon's Dogma and the Souls games have inspired me in many ways, mostly in the action, adventure and exploration department. But they also have inspired me in more negative ways. Number 1 being the Souls in the Souls franchise. Now it may not be what you think, for I understand that if you're not punished in some way upon dying, there isn't any risk to dying either, and your actions don't hold much weight. In Dragon's Dogma this becomes especially apparent. As long as you save often enough, all that's really lost upon dying is a little time. There isn't even really a run back if you save before battle. So I understand why the Souls game do what they do. Well, except for punishing struggling players with less health, but I understand why you lose your hard-earned souls upon dying. What I don't really agree with is the reasoning. Upon dying you lose your souls, and your body returns to the bonfire you last rested at. But of those two things, body and soul, which one is usually considered eternal and which one is temporal? I wanted to turn that formula upside down, so that it made more cosmological sense. Upon dying, the material should perish and the ethereal should remain. So I split my game's agents in 2. They each have 8 bodily attributes and 8 soul attributes. Items get the same treatment too. They are either material or ethereal. Then upon dying, everything possessed by the soul, meaning the soul attributes, the ethereal items and the accumulated ether, which is my game's version of souls, are kept perfectly intact. Instead, everything that belonged to the body is lost. Experience points tied to bodily attributes, along with material items, are dropped in a cairn at the location of death. Each time a new cycle commences, meaning the player either dies or enters a grave, a percentage of that bodily experience degrades, instead of it all being lost at once like in the Souls games. For now, items never degrade or disappear except when they're cursed, and quest items are always ethereal, so you can't ever lose them. If you pick up a cairn at the location of death, any items that were equipped will be re-equipped if possible, and whatever bodily experience remains is returned to the body. Now, because I think this might sometimes be a little strict, I made it so that whenever you voluntarily enter a grave, which is my version of the bonfire, a backup of your current bodily attributes is created. Then, if you die afterwards, all that is lost is the difference between that backup and your last death. Alongside it, I will add an NPC who can etherealize your material items against some ethereal compensation. Fair enough? Now, I could go on for several hours about everything that I've got so far, like the fast stat system, my pose-to-pose animation system, the octological combat, the emotional AI, dialogue and flow, brain graphs, audio design, music, environment design, art style, storytelling, mythology. I could talk about anything because I do everything. Everything you see and hear I made by myself over the past 6 years. Except for these ruins, because all structures are just placeholders and blockouts for now. But that is the unique position I'm currently in. I have spent my life being creative across as many disciplines as possible, drawing, writing, modeling, music. I love all the arts. And I believe games are the ultimate expression of these arts. It is every art form compressed into a single medium. And that is what I love most about games. And that is why I want to dedicate my life to creating them, with Spirit Axis as the first manifestation of that dedication. The reason I'm so dedicated to creating this game, beyond just fulfilling me as a human being is because it's simply a game that I really want to play. I really want it finished. I want to take this vision that's been plaguing my mind for a decade and share it with the world. That's why this video was intended as a broad introduction to the project, its inspirations and its current state. Now I'm hoping to get some of you guys just as excited for this game as I am. I want to connect, I want to build a community of like-minded people, to inspire, motivate and support each other. For this I set up a Spirit Access Discord, which I will link in the description. A Steam page is also being set up. I'll link that below once it's up in case you want to wishlist. So what's next? Well, the foundation is as good as done, mostly. There are still some major systems that I need to either add or finish up before moving forward. So, that's the big four I will be tackling first. After that I have another massive list of tasks, but I'll save those for future videos. I'm going to be aiming for one proper devlog a month going forward, hopefully, and probably sprinkle some smaller updates in between. I gotta be honest with you guys, I hate making videos. I hate making social media posts. I hate anything that takes away time from working on the game. But I need to get this ball rolling. I'm currently living off of my savings and I want to start generating income as soon as possible. Whether that's gonna be a Patreon, Kickstarter, investor or publisher, I'm not sure yet. For now, I just want to connect, share ideas and feedback and build a community with you guys. So that's me for today. I just wanted to let you know that Spirit Access is real. It's still being worked on every single day with full dedication, and I promise you that I will finish it. Someday you will have the power to make that sooner rather than later, but for now, thank you so much for watching. If you have questions or suggestions, feel free to leave a comment. Subscribe if you want to be notified for future updates. You can probably wishlist it on Steam already. And feel free to join the Discord if anything I said or showed in this video really resonated with you. So thanks again and see you soon.